Ho, 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 ho. Fancy meeting
Hello.
you here.
I'm here.
There you go. Yeah, what's new, Linda? What's been going on?
Well, darling, I have been extremely busy. I will go there. I got this email from this person who, I get a lot of emails now, I've got to admit, but I got this email about 6 weeks ago, and they said basically, hey, we want to put you on our channel. Can you sit in front of your computer, do a 30-minute video, send it over with a photo? So I didn't do it straight away because I write in books and other things. So I sent off this half-an-hour video, sent it over to them, and this has now gone viral.
Right.
277,000 views on NDE Diary.
Right.
To the point now where I'm getting about 200 emails a day. And in the last 4 weeks, I've now got another 3,000 subscribers myself out of this.
Wow.
So I do apologise that I haven't been here for a few weeks because I'm getting extremely busy. I've got my armband here because, hello, this is my armband, because I'm actually getting a sore wrist from all the typing that I'm doing. I'm getting these. See here, I've got this. Look at that. That's from just typing where I'm resting my hand on the computer. Yeah, look at it. So you can see that I'm being serious here about. So I'm wearing this armband as well, because my wrist has been. Look, it goes on like that because my wrist is so sore from all the emails and things that I'm doing. Yesterday I did one of my first interviews with the amazing Reverend Bill McDonald.
Uh-huh.
So that's now on my YouTube channel, and he actually wants to come back as another guest in 4 weeks. He actually asked if I could interview him again. So that is an amazing honor on my behalf because this is a man who's known globally. He's had 3 major heart attacks.
Yeah.
He does out-of-body experiences all over the place.
Yeah.
So
I've heard of this guy, yeah.
Yeah, Bill McDonald. He actually wants to come out to Australia. But yeah, I can't see him getting here, honestly. Okay. But I am happy to interview him again in a few weeks. I've got some other people this week that want me to interview them as well. So my days, Mike, are getting extremely busy. And I'll tell you why. It's because a lot of people, as we talk about every week, this veil is starting to come down.
Right.
People are now waking up to the truth of the lies that they've been had with for the last 2 years. And now a lot of people also are actually saying, has this only been going on for 2 years? What happened with that certain event in September 2001? How long have they been doing this to us for?
Yeah.
So a lot of people now do want answers. They want to know who they can trust if it's not someone in this 3-dimensional world. So they're now starting to look at spirituality, like the answers within us, rather than an external religious deity or statue. Yeah. So a lot of people are now wanting to know about premonitions, prophecies, gut feelings, ESP, and other psychic abilities. Yeah. They want to know what happens when we die because, look at all the news today. Russia has just upgraded their nuclear power force. UK is now giving out radiation pills. I don't know if you heard that one.
No, but the UK is, when you've got Boris Johnson and Liz Truss demanding that more weapons get sent to Ukraine instead of looking for peace. I haven't heard anybody, I haven't heard Zelensky talk about peace, just more weapons. Actually,
that's right.
I know this isn't popular, but the only person I've heard who wants resolution is Putin. But
that's exactly right. And that's where people are now starting to wake up, Mike.
Yeah.
They're starting to see who really started this. And, if Biden had not gone over there on President's Day, Oh my gosh. You know, you look where Trump went on President's Day. He went out to Ohio and was looking at all those people now affected by all that gas from that train derailment.
Yeah.
He's out there doing massive cleanups where he's donating millions of dollars to the people of Ohio so then they can do water purification, etc. Where's their own president? He's overseas looking after his own investments. You know, people are waking up to this now and they want answers. You know, oh, honey, we're going into funny times. So I'm just going to go off here. I just want to go, sorry. She said, hello, Linda, great interview, because I was just talking about Bill McDonald. Never seen you so quiet. Sorry. Thank you for saying that, darling, because I'm one who can talk under wet cement. And when I start telling the truth, which I have to extremely limit down when I talk on YouTube, but when you should hear me when I'm here with people around my house, I do not hold back with the truth. So, you know, I do want to start, hopefully I'm not getting any guideline malfunctions on my own YouTube, but I must start telling, you know, I'm getting told that we must now start telling the truth more because people want to hear it.
We are in the truth vibration.
Hey?
We are in the truth vibration, and never is that saying, you know, the truth will be heard. You know, that is absolutely paramount now, because the structures of this old three-dimensional world are collapsing, and truth. I mean, I just heard a great 13-minute interview on the Stu Peters show about a certain intervention being a bioweapon and how now people are being sued. The point is, the truth is now being spoken, and people are looking outside of the traditional religious constructs, which are still embedded deep in brimstone and fire. And as Jean said, you know, we talk about prophecies and we talk about premonitions. Apart from your channel, my channel, the Jeanne d'Arc Spiritual Report, always talks of these kind of prophecies. I mean, she's been right every time. She spoke about, even though it was passed in law, the forced vacations in Austria, she said it wouldn't happen. A question yesterday, there was a question about once you get this stuff in you, it's impossible to get out. She said no, scientists are working on it. And I found out just the other day that now, if people choose to want to get rid of the stuff that's inside them out, they can. And she was right about that prophecy. And people are now looking to outside of the confines of religion, mainstream, everything. And actually, they're looking inside themselves a lot more now. And this is the truth vibration.
Yes. And I think that's where we must start telling more of that truth, Mike. You know, seriously, we have to go there, because you know it, I know it. It's time to spread it out to the people who don't. You know, so for the people that are watching us, sorry, thank you for being here. James, thank you so much for watching. Rebecca Jackson says, g'day. We're supposed to be having a meeting with Matt Frazier, but he was a no-show. Now, speaking of,
is this the medium?
I have heard of Matt Frazier before. Funny thing, Rebecca, I do Zoom meetings with people, and I was just telling Mike off air this morning, before we came on. In the last 7 days, I've had 5 no-shows for my Zoom invites. So that's one thing that I do want to discuss more in length as a development type situation on Sunday when I do my own live over on my own channel. Because one thing that I have noticed with people, they just don't care anymore. People have lost the respect and the courtesy whereby they don't tell the other person, oh, sorry, I can't come over today. Or, oh, sorry, I've got to cancel that appointment. They just don't turn up.
No.
Because people are now feeling so deserving that they just don't care to let the other person know. So I am going to do this on my live on Sunday morning. Hopefully I can talk for a few hours on my live because, you know, I tell the truth on there. And as Sari said, I may have to go over to Rumble because if I do go over to Rumble, I don't have to hold back.
Or actually, Brighteon is probably...
Well, Rumble, yeah, Brighteon, and then there's Rumble.
Yeah.
And I know Rumble because, what's his name? Oh, gosh, what's that guy's name? Russell Brand.
Yeah.
I follow him.
Yeah.
And every video that he does on YouTube, he says, look, this is for the YouTube algorithms, but if you want to hear the truth about this, come and watch me on Rumble. Yeah. So I've gone over to Rumble and I've looked at him, and he swears his head off. He is so down to earth, honest about what they're doing. Yeah. And I think, you know what, it's time for a girl to get out and do the same thing. Yeah. So I'm thinking about, yes, I am thinking about going over to Rumble myself, opening a channel there and just saying, hey, you know what? Here's some home truths. Because I am going to be honest, Mike, I am an instigator for the justice and the truth. 10 years I was told that I would work with the police, and I did work with the police for 10 years. And now I'm understanding why I had to learn I'm now seeing what I had to learn from being there for that 10 years. It's all about justice and the truth. And at the end of the day, someone's got to stand up with the almighty God behind them, with the angels, and I think I'm up for the challenge. Seriously. So I think I am going to start a YouTube, Rumble channel.
Yeah.
But I'm not going to call it Dr. Linda Kramer. I'll probably call it something like the God-given truth or something like that. So then, I don't know.
Well, actually, Linda, if you give it some sort of godly or religious title, it buggers up the algorithm and you get round things a lot easier. So you have to be a little bit smarter with it. So Rebecca says, speak the truth, act in love and live in wisdom. Love you too, Linda. Yeah.
Well, honey, that's all I ever do. You know, I had a lady, I was doing an email reading for them the other day. Oh, my God. She says, oh, I can't understand why everyone tells me I'm so ugly. And I know I'm listening to them. I shouldn't feel guilty over it, but I'm blaming myself for everything going on in my life. Oh, man, did I give her some home truths about not listening to other people? You know, I've actually told her, you know, your family have no other training, so they don't know how to communicate correctly. But from somebody who has, listen up, baby, because here's some home truths for you. And I went boom, boom, boom. So I sent her over my books and I said, do the exercises, you know, go through on this page. So I'm sitting here with my book. Hello, I like showing out my book. So I'm showing out the exercises. And I said, on this page, go to this exercise. Oh, here we go, self-emotions, because that's that she really did know. So, you know, here's all our self-emotions. So here's, what's the first one? Self-acceptance.
Yeah.
There's an exercise there on how to accept yourself. And I said, go through all these and I want you to do them all. Come back in a week and tell me how it went for you.
Right, yeah.
So that's the person that I want to be, where I can say, I'm going to make you accountable for what you're doing to you.
Yeah.
Because we can't rely on what the governments are doing to us. No. We can't sit here and trust what the media is saying to us anymore. So it's time for somebody to stand up on the plate. And I think I'm about to put on my halo and say it for all the truth that it is.
Well, James says, the real Wonder Woman channel. There you are. Or what about the Wonder Woman show?
James.
Oh, what about the One Woman show?
Can I go there? I had this Halloween party at my house a few years back. I think it was 2018. And I went online and I bought the Wonder Woman costume. because, I had the blonde hair, and I did a good job that night of being Wonder Woman, because I had the bracelets, I had the red boots. It was, it cost me a fair bit for this costume that I got, and I've still got it. So maybe I should wear the little things. I've still got the little thing like a tiara, and I've still got the bracelets. Maybe I should say, I should call it the real Wonder Woman, channel or
Linda,
something. Take it, it's yours. Look, James, take it, it's yours.
Linda, if I were a woman, I would be Xena, warrior princess.
Yeah, I've got it. I might even just put it out there and say, what would I be called if I go on this channel, and should I wear my tiara? Hello, I'll show you my tiara. I bought this online about 2 years ago just because I wanted to feel pretty when I walked around my house. So I bought myself a little tiara. And I thought, I need to wear this around my house. And it's heavy. It's quite heavy. But I thought, no. I've got to feel nice when I'm walking around the house. So, I bought myself the little red tiara. And this little guy saved me a hell of a lot of my self-esteem over the years, because we've got to do these little things to give ourselves a little boost, right?
Well, there is a wonderful book out, actually. We spoke about it briefly. It's called When I Loved Myself Enough. And it's just page after page of little anecdotes. When I loved myself enough, I remembered to let go of everything that never served me. And then the next page is when I loved myself enough, I realised the beauty within me, blah, 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 blah.
Yeah.
I look at it occasionally, still.
And you know what? I love myself enough that I'm going to walk around my house naked just with wearing a tiara.
Why not?
Why not?
Yeah.
Before I have a shower, I'll put on my tiara and I think, I feel special, I feel loved.
Feel very special, Linda. Have a shower with your tiara on.
Oh, I don't know. I don't know what it's made of, just in case it deteriorates with water. Because I want to sort of look after it, But by the bag that it came in, and it's got this big plastic thing that it came in as well. So it wasn't cheap. So it is good quality. It's not just like a kid's tiara.
Right.
It is proper metal, but I just don't want to get it wet in case it deteriorates or gets. No. You know how they go green and stuff. Yeah, it's all good.
Well,
okay,
we better march on.
We better get on to our videos.
Yeah. So the first one we got here is our little poltergeist. I labelled it as sort of good poltergeist, bad poltergeist, and I think you'll see why, because this first little poltergeist, he seems to be just moosey on around, having a little look, seeing what's going on. He doesn't seem to be really poltergeist, lively spirit. But let's have a look and let's everyone give us your thoughts. Here we go.
While investigating a house that was thought to be haunted, they set up numerous cameras around the property in an effort to catch the spirits in the act. The first clip comes from an outdoor security camera. It's dark out, but the porch light provides enough light to see a strange amorphous shape moving towards the front door. It seems that the kitchen might be somewhat of a hotspot for the alleged paranormal activity. This next clip shows several cabinet doors and drawers opening and closing, seemingly all on their own. The investigators managed to capture some other odd occurrences as well. This time, the picture frames on the walls can be seen swinging back and forth. In paranormal circles, this type of activity is often attributed to a type of ghost known as a poltergeist. These supernatural entities are thought to possess the power to interact with objects around them. Some think that this is an attempt by a poltergeist to get the attention of the living, perhaps in an effort to pass on some sort of message. So could the events in these videos be caused by a poltergeist haunting the home? Take another look and judge for yourself. The pallet full of boxes waiting to be shelved suddenly begins sliding across the floor, narrowly missing him as it moves. However, the odd activity doesn't end there. Seconds later, the boxes that the worker has just been shelving begin to topple to the ground. That's when things turn from eerie to downright terrifying. Watch what happens next. The man falls to the floor and begins to slide across the concrete, one leg extended out from his body, as if being dragged by an unseen force. While it's possible that the falling boxes and moving pallet could have been staged as part of an elaborate prank, surely the worker being dragged down the aisle would be too difficult to pull off. So what's going on here then? Is it all just an over-elaborate hoax, or is this warehouse really being haunted by a rather dangerous poltergeist? Let me know where you sit on this strange one in the comments down below.
Sorry about that. Rebecca says those cameras set up along with the action. Yeah, and I think she's referring to the second one. That's real. But what do you reckon, Linda?
Well, the first one, I actually think that's just a spider or something crawling across the camera.
Yeah.
Because I've seen that so many times.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, let me explain this, guys, okay? When you've got a camera, I can't even really show my camera anymore because now I've got this new phone. It's got 2 lenses on it. But when you've got a camera, I'll use my mouse, right? Just so it's got one lens on it. So what it does is it does not see depth, or it can't focus like we do because we've got 2 focal points, okay? So because we've got 2 eyes, we can clarify distance and we can assume focus because we've got 2 focal points. But when you've got a camera which is aimed and focused like 10 feet away to see what's going on out in the yard, when something walks past it at extremely close range, it becomes translucent, which means that it appears see-through, and the second one, it is very unfocused, okay? So I actually think that first one could be something crawling along the lens where the camera is,
Right.
okay?
Mm-hmm.
I'm not saying it is,
No.
but there's a high possibility that's what it is, okay?
Yeah.
The second one with the faucet turning on, why is the camera aimed straight at it?
Yeah.
You know, when I see a frame and I am straight in the middle of that frame because it's straight around me like this, a box around me, and something happens here, I always think, that's just a little bit too ironic. Because it happened with the tap, it happened with the cupboard doors, and it also happened with the guy in the warehouse. There's something that I don't like in that warehouse photo video, Mike.
Me also.
What are you not liking about it?
Well, I after that trolley went by on its own, I was looking at the guy and I felt he moved to an unnatural position. If it had been me, that trolley went by, I would have gone, what was that? I wouldn't have suddenly just stepped away from the shelves and be in the line of where that trolley was. And this allowed then all those boxes to fall out. And as for the sliding down, I can tell you, having doing a lot of editing lately for video footage with green screens and God knows what else, that action is the simplest of things to create of him. You only have to move the hands on a green screen and then plonk that in, and then you can slide that all the way down. Now, I'm not saying that isn't real. Personally, I feel that this it can happen. I don't think this is real. I think this was someone, clickbait yet again. But hey, I could be wrong.
Are you ready?
Yeah.
What's the biggest magician's rule, Mike?
Take the money and run.
How about misdirection?
Yeah.
Look over here while something happens over here.
Yeah.
If you want to rewind that footage, guys, have a look again, because that man is the only employee in that whole warehouse. And it's not until you look in all the other aisles that you think, why is a camera aimed at the only person in that whole warehouse? And why does that happen right in front of the camera that's set up?
Once again, yeah.
Now, all those rows, go back and watch it again, guys. Classic misdirection. You look here instead of looking over there where all the truth really is happening. So it's misdirection at its best, because there's no one else in that warehouse. I've watched it about 4 times. I didn't see anybody.
Right.
The camera is set up right where he is, stage left appearance. And as you said, Mike, and the other thing that you see is when you do look into the other aisles, you can see where the boxes are, and it would be so easy for someone to be on that other side and pushing them through.
Yeah.
So, there you go. So I'm saying also all the other rows were empty. Exactly. He was the only one there.
Yeah.
Strange that, because I've been to warehouses when staff are on, and you can't walk because there's about 30 people per row.
Yeah.
Seriously. You've got forklifts going, you've got stackers going, you've got people pulling out boxes, pushing boxes back in. There's a lot of activity when people are on work. So where's all the other staff?
Yeah. Yeah.
Doesn't make sense. Yeah. Doesn't make sense.
No.
Yeah.
And we say good night to Rebecca, as she's off to bed right now. So sleep well.
Love you, Rebecca. Yeah. Have a good night, darling girl. All righty.
All right.
So there you go.
Yep. So
but it is good that we show these.
Yeah.
And I do like it, but we've got to remember that this sort of stuff does happen. But it is extremely rare when people do catch it. Yeah. And I think that's why we now live in an age where people just fake it so often, because of so many things. Like I got a new phone, and the things that I can do on this phone, like effects and changing stuff, it's blowing me away what I can do with it. Yeah.
Well, I tell you, Linda, most disturbing, I find, is my wife's phone. She comes to me and says, "Oh, wow, look at they've just done." And this phone has just taken a bunch of her pictures, put it together, put some music in the background. And most disturbingly, it's bloody well done.
I get it all the time. Like I'll show you my phone right now. Okay, let me just log in. Okay, so here's my phone. If I scroll here, look, here it is up here. Yeah. And it comes up, if I press it, oh look, there's my daughter. Look, music. Yeah. And it's all her photos. Yeah. Oh my God. Yeah. So, I know exactly what you're talking about, Mike. So, you can go in and you've got all these like little mini movies made up of all your photos, and you think, oh, I didn't give anyone permission to do that.
Unfortunately, you did, Linda, when you bought the phone. You sold your soul.
I know, but I had to sell my soul, because if you saw my old phone and if you saw the quality of the video on it, because now, Tashi's now going to uni, she's still got 2 years of school and she's still going to uni as well. So when I go into the city with her now, I can at least go into the park if I feel like it and go in and do a live in the video, and do a video in there. Yeah, with my little I got one of these little cool little tripods. This was in Kmart, guys, $15. So you attach your phone here. So your phone goes there. right? And then it's got all the little tripod legs, and it comes out. So you got your phone sitting there, so you can talk to it, and you can also use it like a selfie stick, because this changes around, so you can use it as a selfie stick. Hello. So it's.
Linda, you sound like you're one of the hosts on one of those consumer programs, where buy now and get 10%
There's
discount.
more. Yes, look, $15 at Kmart.
Super. All righty.
Hey, it's good. It's all good. Yeah.
Let's move on to Susan's.
I need some product selection money coming in. Sponsorship from Kmart.
Susan's reincarnation.
Yes, please.
Well, I mean, look, let's not say anything about this. Let's just run it, and I think people will go, wow, to this one. Incredible. Yep. Let's have a listen.
The following is the amazing story where a young girl by the name of Winnie Eastland dies at the age of 6 after being hit by a car and is reborn into the same family as Susan Eastland. In 1961, when Winnie Eastland was struck and killed, the whole family, as expected, felt excruciating emotional pain. Half a year later, Winnie's older sister Sharon dreamed of a dead sister, saying that she would be returning home. 2 years later, Winnie's mother Charlotte became pregnant and also dreamed of a dead child, saying she would return home. In 1964, as she was about to give birth, Mr. Eastland heard a voice say distinctly, "Daddy, I'm coming home." Charlotte Eastland gave birth to a baby girl, who she named Susan. Charlotte believed that because the deceased daughter Winnie was constantly on her mind and had dreamed about her returning, she felt that she'd given birth to her dream. When Susan was 2 years old and learning to speak, a strange thing happened, where if anyone asked her age, she would say that she was 6 years old, which was Winnie's age at the time she had the terrible accident. One day when Susan saw a picture of Winnie, she suddenly became emotional and said, "That is me." Susan also talked about playing on the swings at school, even though she was still very young and had never been to school and had never played on swings. Before her death, Winnie had attended school and was always playing on the swings. Because of the strange behaviour of their daughter, Charlotte and her husband could not help but think, is Susan really their deceased daughter Winnie, who had reincarnated and returned to the family? When Winnie was alive, Mrs. Eastland used to pull out a cookie jar that had a picture of a cat on the lid, where she would regularly play a game with them. When one of the children wanted a cookie, she pretended to ask the cat how many pieces he could get. Then she replied in a cat's voice, "Meow, you can take 1," or "Meow, you can take 2." After Winnie's death, Mrs. Eastland put the jar away in a cupboard and kept it out of sight. When Susan was about 4 years old, Mrs. Eastland decided to take the jar out of the cupboard and fill it with cookies, as she used to do with her daughters. The first time Susan asked for cookies, Mrs. Eastland had momentarily forgotten that Susan was completely unaware of the cat game, and said to Susan, "Okay, what did the cat say?" Susan's answer surprised her, where she said in a soft voice like a mother's, "Meow, you can take 1 piece." That was not the only surprise, for her mother found later that there were more surprises to come. When Susan spoke clearly about things that she had personally never experienced in her current life. One example was where she said that she once went with a family to the sea to catch crabs, and also said the names of the people who had been present at that time. What Susan described was exactly what had happened the year before Winnie had died, when the whole family went for a walk along the beach in Washington. Although Susan was only 5 years old, she still claimed to be 11 years older than her brother Richard. Winnie was 3 years older than Richard. As a result, the family increasingly began to believe that Susan was Winnie. Mrs. Eastland once asked Susan if she remembered little Gregory and Uncle George, who lived across the street. The mother was fully aware that Susan had never met them, because Susan was born in Idaho, and when Winnie was alive, Gregory and Uncle George lived in a different town. Unexpectedly, Susan said, "I miss Greggy. I often play with him." Greggy is the nickname for the boy Gregory. Susan also said that she missed Uncle George. "When we went to school, we would often stop and play at his house for a while." That was true, as Winnie would often go and play at her uncle's house. And the sad fact was that Winnie was actually playing at her Uncle George's house on the day of the terrible accident. Susan later recounted another interesting story, saying that one time when she went shopping with her mother had left her next to a food stall that was not too far away. Then suddenly a boy ran up and kissed her, making her father very angry. Charlotte Eastland remembered the incident as if it was yesterday, but she understood clearly that it wasn't Susan who'd left that event at the food stall. It was Winnie. The parents found that Susan and Winnie had very similar personalities, that they were both sociable and good-natured. It was also interesting to note that Susan had a birthmark on her left hip that was in the exact same location where Winnie had been fatally hit by the car. It was clearly shown in the hospital's autopsy report. So how come Susan was able to recall so much of her deceased sister's life, unless she'd lived it before? There appears no doubt that Winnie Eastland, after being deceased for 3 years, had been reincarnated into the same family and was now Susan Eastland.
That was a quick reincarnation, I gotta say. What do you think of this?
Well, there's no time, Mike.
No.
You know, I'm a firm believer in a lot of like metaphysical concepts, like theories. And one of these theories is when a person has a child that dies, then it's quite common that that soul comes back again as the next child in order.
Right.
So I firmly believe this sort of stuff that exists.
Yeah.
You know, for her to know things like Greg and Greggy, you know, I'm not saying that's a confirmation.
No.
Because, you know, I know Gregs and I always call them, hey, Greggy, how you going?
Yeah, it's like a jigsaw puzzle. It's a piece of a jigsaw puzzle, like the cookie jar thing.
Yeah. But other things that she was saying about people, you can't dispute those.
No.
Really, you can't dispute those things. So do I believe her story? Of course I do.
Yeah.
You know, I think it's absolutely amazing that she's been honest enough with her parents that she did have that experience.
Yeah.
And that they obviously are capable of fathoming how deep our consciousness can be after our three-dimensional death.
Yeah.
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 Very good.
We'll never know, but I wonder, will she grow out of this? Did she grow out of it? Because last week's reincarnation was a guy who was like in his 60s and he could still recall everything. Some people grow out of it. And then what's the purpose of it, Linda? Was the accident not supposed to happen in her life contract? You know, and so she went back.
I believe there's certain things that are predestined in our lives.
Yeah.
And I believe that there's also free will.
Yeah.
And I believe that it's when we remember past lives, it's because it's an unhealed lesson that we still have to learn. And that's why we are still aware of it. You know, when we talk about people who get murdered, and if this does upset anyone listening, please go and talk to someone or seek out medical professional advice, okay? Please do that. But I believe that people who are murdered, and then they come back and that child says, oh, yeah, my body's over there and I was hit over the head with a hammer type thing, because we've had that story, right?
We have, yeah.
How do we know what that person that ultimately got hit with the hammer, what sort of person were they? Yeah. Were they nice? Were they ugly? Were they like ugly at heart?
Yeah.
Were they selfish? Were they conceited? Were they like a narcissist to cause that for somebody to hit them over their head?
Right.
So, you know, whatever those traits or characteristics were in that life, it's unhealed because they got killed.
Right, yeah.
And this is where, you know, we all have predestined stuff occur. Yeah. And we always have these out clauses that I talk about in my spirit guide book. But ultimately, at the end of the day, some people do die before their contract is up. So how do we know that this isn't where a child will remember that life because they haven't learnt all the lessons that they were supposed to learn in that life before?
Yeah.
You know? And you look at this one where it was a child. So what were the lessons that that child was supposed to learn?
Sure, yeah.
That is now being passed on to the next child born in line. So then they also then have to, in that incantation, also have to experience that lesson as well.
Yeah. I mean,
So we don't.
I mean, you're a mother, but you're also a medium. So perhaps in this respect, you're not the right person to ask, but I'm sure you can answer it. What would go through a mother's mind? I mean, total confusion, bewilderment.
If Tashi started telling me that she was another child that I'd had, or if she was my brother who died, oh my gosh, it would take a hell of a lot of strength. It would take enormous amount of strength to be able to say, this little baby that I'm holding in my arms is not just my baby, it's also this other person. A lot of people would not be able to handle that truth, Mike.
No.
They wouldn't.
Yeah.
But personally, I would, because of who I am, as not just a mother, but also as a medium, NDE, whatever else you want to call me these days, okay? Parapsychologist, metaphysician. I've got a huge buttload of qualifications. So I would try and understand it from her perspective. That's the ultimate thing. Whereas I wouldn't be, this is like the old, I'm going to put earrings on my 2-month-old baby. I'm going to go get their ears pierced because it's my decision that she's going to be this way. I would not be able to do that to a child. No. And in that little bit there, that's why Tashi's never had her ears pierced, because it's always got to be her decision, because it's her body. Okay? So I would allow her to, I would be recording it. I would be making journal notes and reminding her often and saying, do you remember when you told me about this? Have you got any new information about it? So we do push it. So we do learn more about it because, past life and reincarnation, everybody's now getting on the bandwagon. And if we can prove beyond doubt, how do we do that? It's like an NDE. How do you prove it? But if we can get those stories of confirmation where they don't know the information beforehand, that just all adds substance and value to the theory of reincarnation and past lives. So we've got to keep pushing for it. We absolutely have to. Science has to start understanding in meta science that the quantum leaps within the mechanism of the universal energy fields, we can partake in a bilocational transmutation of frequencies, which is dimensions or vortexes, portals, whatever you want to call them. But at the end of the day, we have to start acknowledging this through science. Because there are too many stories now that do have these sort of confirmations. Yes. Well, and as Alexandra Kay, I'd love to have recognised a beloved passed away soul in my child. I'm the same. Alexandra Kay. I'm the same. If my daughter actually possessed some, I remember when Tashi was about 2 and she started telling me about her grandfather. He died when I was 2 months pregnant. We went to the hospital because we knew he was going to die, because I wanted to tell him I was pregnant before he died. So he was coming to me and he used to blow in my ear and all my hair would go crazy. And I'd hear the blow. So when she was 2 and she said, Granddad's here, he's blowing in my ear. And then I'd say to her, tell me some things that he tells you. He started naming the chickens that he had when he was a teenager. So then I'd ring her dad and I'd say, did your dad ever have chickens? And he'd say, yes. I said, did he have 6? And he says, yeah, the names were this, that. And Tashi knew it all. Tashi knew what he did for a job. Tashi knew where he used to go for a job. She knew too much stuff about him that could not have been unless he was coming to visit her and let her know. Now, this is the other thing. When we talk about past lives, are the children actually having past lives, or are they being visited by that deceased loved one who's telling them all the information? Either way, I believe both sides do exist
Yeah.
and occur.
Yeah.
So there you go. That's
Yeah.
where I'm at.
I mean, Sari says with the veil thinning, this may become normal, and I tend to agree with her.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's right. Of course it is.
Yeah.
You know, these solar flares, I've been watching them closely. There's a couple of YouTube channels that I watch where they're showing it all. And this energy that's been around for the last 2 days, and it goes for about another week, this is the real manifestation energy.
Yeah.
You know, if my interviewee doesn't turn up tomorrow morning, do you mind if I just say who I'm interviewing tomorrow morning?
Yeah.
Elvis Presley's brother. Now, don't just say it's his twin brother who died, because no, I've got his stepbrother coming on tomorrow for an interview. His name is Billy Stanley. He was the stepbrother of Elvis, and there's photos of them together, etc. He's done a lot of talks about his own NDE that he had. So if he's a no-show tomorrow, I'm going to be doing a video myself about these solar flares, because people do want to know what's going on with the energy, because people are feeling it. And the only way we feel it is if people are waking up to it, which is what's now happening. So I am so ecstatic that we now live in a time where people are starting to really work out what is important, and most of all, who's telling the truth about stuff.
Okay.
I've really got to go to Rumble. I've really got to go to Rumble.
Well, before you go to Rumble, let's rumble on to our next. Is the Colin Brooks. We showed this one back in the day once we first started, and this is the visitation of family members and spirit who just happened to turn up and look like normal people as he's strolling along the beach with his loved one. I won't say any more, but this again is another fascinating story that really deserves a second look. So let's take a look at this, and then we'll get back to your comments.
Even as they started their walk, it was no ordinary evening for Colin. Despite an outwardly happy appearance, he was heavy with thought about a family tragedy 6 years earlier, an event he would not share with his girlfriend. In fact, he had told no one. For some reason, images of that tragedy had begun to vividly return. It hadn't been this bad for a long time. Colin was used to keeping the pain and guilt to himself. He'd moved north from Melbourne, merged into the local tropical lifestyle, played First Division football, became pretty successful finding work around town. Life seemed to be getting back on track. Time was making amends for the tragedy. But all that day, those images had somehow come back. As Colin walked along the beach, he looked ahead and saw the faint outline of a group of people gathered around a fire. He didn't take much notice, those other thoughts playing on his mind. Yet Colin had learned to cover his pain well. He seemed as happy-go-lucky as anyone his age should be. As they drew closer, Colin began to realise there was something unusual about the people on the beach. They sat in absolute silence. The only sound was the crackle of the fire against the rumble of the surf. He'd never seen any of them before, but that was not unusual in the tourist heart of Queensland. In darkness, those distant images grew clearer in Colin's mind. Colin Brooks' father had killed himself in the family garage, and nothing would make that sad fact go away.
I'd never been able to speak about my father and my childhood to anyone.
As they approached the group, sitting in a circle on the beach, Colin was to get his first real hint of something strange.
Hello, Colin. We've been expecting you.
Colin had never met these people, yet they knew his name, seemed to be waiting specifically for him.
All of a sudden it spoke to me. It spoke to me in a way that I couldn't describe. It's just things it knew me, or she knew me very well.
Always remember, son, to take responsibility for your own life.
He didn't know it then, but Colin was about to hear the most intimate thoughts and words of his late father through the mouth of one of the women in the circle.
Your mother and I may have grown apart over the years, but I've always loved her too.
The voice changed. The face changed.
I realised then what was being conveyed to me was my father.
Sometimes life gets just a bit too much.
And you can't cope. So I hope you don't hate me for that. I've made mistakes.
She spoke in detail of his childhood,
I want you to make the same
a
mistake.
childhood he had revealed to no one.
I just want you to understand that I'm sorry for what happened, and I love you very much.
She spoke of private and personal hopes.
What I want you to do is move on. You must move on in life. Do it for me and for yourself.
She spoke in phrases exactly the same as Colin's father used to use.
It's now up to you to look after mother and family.
Was Colin's father making contact 6 years after his death?
He expressed love for my mother, and the rest of my family, and it especially wanted me to convey to them that things were all right, and things were better this way.
Soon after, Colin left Magnetic Island. He never saw those people again. He doesn't know who they were, where they came from, or how his path came to cross theirs.
For me, I'm a skeptic, and I've never ever seen anything so real.
You may not speak to me again, but I'll always be there for you.
Well, I can understand the voice changing. I can understand the face changing, transfiguration. That used to happen to me quite a lot. It's kind of coming back. The voice change, it doesn't normally change in that sort of duplicity. If you're interested, look at the work of Eileen Thorpe when she channels Jonathan. Her face basically changes. You could still see it's her, but it basically changes. But her voice changes completely to that of a male voice, and not in that spooky exorcist type voice that we've just witnessed there. So again, the question, Linda, why him? Why Colin Brooks? Of all people in the world, why did he receive this visitation? It's an intriguing question.
You know, I've got to go back to like predestined things that occur in our lives, and we look at why they occur to some people and not to others. We look at people who are just average people who have an extraordinary or a supernatural event that occurs, and they're the ones who then go out and tell others, hey, you won't believe what just happened to me. So is it to those who go out and promote and advertise it, or is this an event that actually happens far more than we think it does? And there's so many people out there who don't ever talk about what they see because they don't understand what they've seen. And I'm in that boat. I believe that this is something that occurs far more than what we think it does. And people are just too scared or too brainwashed by today's society to actually want to know what it was that did occur. So I give him credit for going out and promoting it, of course, but I don't think it's something that's that rare.
No, I mean, you know, we had a story, a long time ago, of the woman whose car broke down and they drove into the parking lot, and it just so happens this old boy comes over and says, you know, what's happening? Oh, I've got that part with me. and he fixes
exact part, the exact car.
And
oh my gosh!
and she
yes.
said there is no
Which
way
means-
he could have driven out of that car park without passing by them, and they never saw that. And then, of course, there's the big one, what we all love, is the one, Dinner with an Angel. That one that takes place over the American Thanksgiving. So, yeah, I think it does happen more and more. I think people have this idea through society perceptions that angels, if they help you, they're going to be see-through and illuminescent, and
Yes.
doesn't always work that way, you know.
Well,
So,
let me just tell a little story that only happened yesterday. Okay, it was Monday. Sorry, my daughter has got braces, and she went to her dad's for the weekends. And when she came home Sunday night, she said, "Mum, I've broken one of the bottom things that goes from tooth to teeth, the wire, right?" So she's actually booked into the dentist mid-January to get her braces rechecked. And I said, "Darling, I'll ring on Monday when you're at school and I'll see if we can get you booked in earlier." You know, dentists here, you can wait 3 months to see a dentist. Okay. Oh, yeah. Okay. Unless it's like an emergency, and you've got to prove that it's an emergency. Like, you've got to say, "Oh, I can't talk. I've got to come now." So it's a long wait to get into a dentistry here. So I had a client on Monday morning, and I did that reading, and then I had about half an hour before the next one that I had booked in. And in that time, that half an hour between, so we're now talking about 10 o'clock, and I heard her, she said, "Ring now." And I thought, "Oh, no, I've got to talk to somebody in half an hour. I want to get rid of all the energy from the last one and get you zapped in for the next one. Ring now," I heard. So I thought, okay, I've got to ring now. So I rang the dentist, and I like the old elevator music, trying to get through. And she answers, and I said, "Look, my daughter's not booked in until March, whatever. Is there any possibility of getting in sooner because she's broken one of the wires?" She said, "Would you believe I just got off the phone because we've just had a cancellation? You can bring her in at 2 o'clock today." So she knew the perfect timing. Now, why was the cancellation right between those two sessions? Because I usually talk to people for about an hour, hour and a half. So I had hour and a half, then I had a half an hour free, and then I had another hour and a half. So why was that cancellation right then in that perfect time? Because I'll tell you, cancellations, they get booked out within minutes. So if you're not right there at that perfect time to get the cancellation, you don't get seen for months. So
well, I tell you, Linda, before we do Astrids NDE, I had a similar story. I was my boat was moored down at Windsor. I was the Queen's neighbour for a while, and too bloody far from my life in London. You know, it's like a 35-mile drive into town every day. So my mooring was coming to an end, and I desperately needed a new mooring in London somewhere. And I phoned up Brentford. If anyone knows this area, it's near Kew Gardens in London. And he said, "Oh, I can put you on the waiting list." He said, "But that's all I can do right now." And I got along with this guy and kind of a friend of mine now. And so I said, "Okay, fine," knowing I still had to find somewhere else. Well, actually, about 2 hours later, he phoned me back. He said, "You're in luck." He said, "The place has just come free." He said, "You know, we got on well. I like speaking to you. Come down and have a look." And I got that mooring, and I can't tell you how hard a mooring like that is to find.
There was probably 200 in the queue before you, Mike, that all wanted it. So how does this happen? You know, and it's when, I believe, it's when we are trying our best to be the best that we can be, and we believe that they are working with us. That's the rewards that we get for doing their work.
Yeah.
You know, I call it brownie points.
Yeah.
You know, they do give us these brownie points when we accept who they are.
Universal credit.
Well, we won't talk credit systems, okay?
No.
I'm not on Rumble yet. Oh, honey. Well, I won't be going on to Rumble for at least another month because I'm still so busy.
Yeah.
But, wow.
Well, let's go over and hear what Astrid has to say with her NDE, and then we'll have a quick discussion, and then we've all got to get on with our lives. So let's have a run through here, and please give us your comments.
I remembered that I saw myself from above, and I looked down at my body in so much endless pain and agony. I saw the 3 men from the rescue team that were present. They were working very hard to get me back. I also saw that my body was put under the shock of a defibrillator about 8 or 10 times. I also saw my daughter, who had arrived in the meantime, and the emergency doctor. While I was looking at the scene, I was actually feeling every emotion from every person in that room, all of what they were thinking. The emotional chaos my daughter was in. I felt the emotional strain that she was under, as if she was flung back and forth in an emotional turmoil. I also felt all the emotions of the rescue team, their feelings of helplessness during the resuscitation. The beginning, they were absolutely stunned. How could this happen? Nobody had counted on that. And also, when the emergency doctor arrived, I saw and felt all that, and it was almost impossible to bear. Especially to see one's own body in these repeated shocks. I wanted them to leave my body alone. I tried to make myself heard. I whispered into the ear of one of them. I plucked his sleeve. But of course it was not possible to get in touch with anyone. They were totally absorbed in their own actions. And I wanted my body to be left alone. Please, leave it alone. And then I could not bear it any more. I couldn't bear it. I couldn't look at it all anymore. And then I left. I just left the room. I mean, my soul left. Very slowly and very sadly. I say that my soul was weeping about looking at its own body. I found myself at the side of a wonderful crystal clear creek, and I was weeping into this creek. And then I got up and went on. And suddenly I was at the top of a mountain. There was no higher path upwards. And then I said, "Help me. I don't know what I should do." And then suddenly the universe, or the heavens, opened up above me, and I was standing in this wonderful light. The tangible and visible love of God. It flooded me, my body, and the whole mountain, and also the valley below, as far as I could see. It was everywhere, this wonderful light. I experienced an infinite and endless sense of well-being, and I was calm. From these moments, all the earthly pain where I had come from this scene in my hallway, all the sadness and misery was absolutely gone. It was just love, just divine love present everywhere. I didn't really want to go back, but I knew my body needed me. It took me 27 minutes to decide to go back again. I was also very much afraid of having to look at the scene in my hallway again. To see this body in so much pain and agony again, if I went back, I didn't want that at all. Then I actually took one step higher, even though there was no way to get any higher. But then I just absorbed that love, that tangible and visible love of God that somehow permeates everything. And then I also saw some very beautiful colours. All colours of the rainbow and infinite, endless shades and gradations of colours in between them. They were wafer thin and moving to and fro as if they were intertwining. There was sometimes the shadow of a face, and then it was gone again. Before I could really grasp it, it was gone again. I couldn't really grasp anything. But it didn't really matter. It was just beautiful. And those colours don't exist on Earth. They couldn't explain why after 27 minutes of resuscitation, I had no damage at all. No physical or mental or emotional damage. This was a little miracle, actually. And it is very hard for me if people ask me what this light is like, what it actually feels like. Because here on Earth, in our languages, there is no word for that. No word exists for it. I've tried to make up a word for it myself, but with this limited human brain, for God, for the divine light, there is no other word. Divine light is divine light. No other word exists for that. The human language has no word for it. It is simply wonderful, endless, and infinite security, infinite and endless peace, and endless and infinite love.
Yeah, I tell you, what I've learned from all these NDE experiences is that people get the NDE experience according to their personality. And
I believe it's their perspective.
Yeah. Earphones in the wrong way, excuse me. There. Yeah. So, I mean, this is a very, comes across as a very nervous woman, actually. Woman that's very unsure on the earth plane. And her kind of experience was still about limitation. Though she tend to overcome this. But she beat you, Linda. 27 minutes she was gone for. She's tilted your tiara a little bit.
I know someone who can beat her because I was doing CPR on this lady. Her name was Rosemary. And I was working on her for 45 minutes. And the ambos came and said that she was gone when they pulled out the defib.
Right.
So that was 45 minutes that I was with Rosemary. She woke up. She came and thanked me. Yeah, I used to go over and see her every Friday afternoon after work and have a cup of tea with her. Yeah. Linda, so we can have that long.
Before we go, did you ever see the movie Flatliners?
Yes, I did.
The original or the new one?
I saw the one with Julia Roberts, Kiefer Sutherland,
that's the original.
etc.
Yeah.
I think Emilio Estevez was in it as well.
I think so.
And I think Charlie Sheen was in it. Hey?
What do you think of it?
I would not ever recommend anyone to watch that unless they were looking at it as fiction.
Yeah.
Because if we start wanting to do what they did in that movie, it can lead to very, very, very serious health conditions or death.
Yeah.
So it's like a Ouija board, Mike.
Yeah.
It's not something to look at. It's not to be taken as a joke.
No.
So if we look at the Flatliners movie as something that's trivial, then we don't want to see that depth of what it has got to it, okay?
Yeah.
Because it's not a joke.
No.
Messing with our lives is never a joke, like a Ouija board.
Yeah.
So I don't recommend children to ever watch it because it can make them suicidal.
Yeah.
I don't ever, I will never promote that movie in anything I do because it can increase mental anxiety as well as death, the fear of death, especially because of that little boy that was running around after Kiefer Sutherland and hurting him all the time, bashing him up.
Yeah.
So I don't want to fear people about death at all, so I don't recommend that movie.
Yeah.
But Do I think it was real? Hell yeah.
Yeah.
You know, but kudos for them wanting to be, would I even make that movie? Probably not.
No, likewise.
I wouldn't even want to be a part of it
Yeah.
because of what it could create in the people who watch it.
Yeah.
Like a Ouija board
Yeah.
type event. So I tell everyone, don't watch it. It's fiction.
Yeah.
Because, if you really look at it as a possibility, then, that'll start people wanting to become like Frankenstein monster type stuff.
Yeah.
And, there was a movie I watched in the 80s. Oh, my God, it was called The Regenerator. The Reanimator.
All right.
Oh, my God.
Yeah.
Now, here was a guy who was getting all different body bits, sewing them all together and reanimating it so it became a human again.
Right.
And that was one of the worst horror movies on the planet. It was worse than We're Gonna Get Ya. What was that one? Evil Dead or whatever it was, or the Zombies in the Basement movie. Right. So I watched The Reanimator, and then they made a second one because everybody watched it, and it was just total gore because he's chopping up bodies and stuff. Oh my God, now it made me flashbacks. Thank you for giving me flashbacks, Mike. And I'm about to go to bed.
Yeah.
But anyway, there's just certain things that we should let lie.
Yeah, for sure.
People say to me all the time, they say, it must be so cool having an NDE, and I turn around and I say it wasn't cool.
No.
It took my body 6 months to recover. Yeah. I still have the scars and the traumatic mental anxiety based on it. Every night I go to bed, I think if I'm going to wake up in the morning, it's a miracle because is it going to happen again? Yeah. I said I'm extremely scared of it. But at the end of the day, I manage it, like with my PTSD that I got with the police. I manage it and I get through it and I try to do my best. So when I educate other people, that eliminates that fear that I hold within as well. So I will never say NDE is anything less than traumatic. I don't know one NDEer that ever says, oh, yeah, that was the best thing that ever happened to me.
Yeah, no.
Because the death of a body is never good.
No.
It's only what happens after that is what is good. Yeah. And if you are fortunate enough to stay in heaven, good on you. But like me, the unfortunate ones who wake up again, we are the ones who have to live through that pain or trauma, anguish of having scars, physical ailments, physical things wrong with us for the duration of our existence until we finally die for permanently.
And you came back, Linda, because you're a bad, bad person.
I've done some
they don't want you in heaven.
Well, I had this one guy say that Earth is the hell, or the prison, I should say. It wasn't hell. Earth is the prison for the souls who do bad existences. And I thought, man, have I done something bad to get what I've done? Because I've had the chance to leave and I came back for more.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
Anyway, I love it being here. Mike, but as soon as we realise that this life that we've got, it's not the end. It's just another blink in the existence of our soulistic alignment of existence, awareness, or our perception, or whatever you want to call that conscious existence after we die.
Yeah.
The very fact that I know it's true. So why would I fear death? I fear what will happen to my daughter, what will happen to my cat, what will happen to my belongings. Yes. But that's why we get a will set in place. Who's going to be driving around in my car? That sort of thing is what I worry about.
Yeah.
Because that's only just in this material realm, though. Because when we go back to our soul, all that stuff doesn't matter. We don't worry. Oh God, who's got the car? Are they cleaning it? We don't.
Yeah.
Who's feeding the cat?
Yeah.
We don't have those cares.
No.
Because it's just no longer relevant.
No.
Because we've returned back to that eternal being where that, and then we look at every other life that we've had. Someone said to me once, she said, am I ever going to see my ex-husband again? And I looked at her in all seriousness and I said, which one? And she went, I've only got one. And I said, but that's only in this life.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
So I educated her and I said, if you've got 1 million lives, let's just break it down. You've got 500, 1 million lives. You've got 500,000 ex-wives. You've got 500,000 ex-husbands. How many kids are in that mix? How many cousins, aunties, mother-in-laws that you've got to contend with in heaven?
Yeah.
So, you know, we get very in a box here in this three-dimensional world. We're very enclosed.
Yeah.
And it's hard to see that unlimited.
Yeah.
So, unlimited. I like that word, unlimited. Yeah.
Linda, it's time to say goodbye. As I've
It surely
got to get on.
darling
Yeah.
Ben. It surely is. It's that time of the night for me.
Yeah.
You know, I've got to go and put my daughter to bed because she's got school she's coming up to exams in 2 weeks, so it's a never-ending story with her these days, getting her to do her homework. But, it's all good.
Yeah. Super.
So, from where I am now, it is now 8:20 p.m. on Wednesday. Happy days, happy afternoons, or good evening, good night, wherever you all are around the world. Thank you so much for watching us again. If you've got any suggestions, I have put Mike's email in there, and I hope that he's put it in the description of this video. Please contact him or myself and give us ideas on what you want on future shows, because ultimately we're here for your benefit. And I hope that you all have a good night. Thank you so much for viewing.
See you, everyone. Bye-bye.
Bye.